that he's going to respond. And is this its own national security issue?
Is this its own national? Look at this delusion. I heard about Trump derangement syndrome. What about this BDS? This is Biden derangement syndrome. The idea that a president looking at a notepad is a national security issue. You're the leader of a country of over 360 million people. You're gonna need a few note cards to remember all the information when speaking to reporters and others. What does he think? Al-Qaeda is going to dig up into the tunnels, go to the other Al-Qaeda members like, guys, quick, America's at its weakest point. Biden had to look at a notepad. And they start digging out of the tunnels, charging into the American wasteland like, we're gonna drop into fucking Oklahoma and tear apart the countryside. People are angry at Biden. Why? Because he looked at notes during a meeting. That's really it. So I wanted to check out this Fox News segment to see what is so terrible about Joe Biden looking at his notes.
Joe Biden stumbles again. This time, he was asked about a cyber attack this weekend affecting 200 companies. Biden had to reach for the note cards.
With the most recent hack by the Russians, would you say that this means
We're not sure it's the Russians. I got a brief, and I'll be in better shape to talk to you about it. Hang on a second. I'll tell you what they sent me. The idea, first of all, we're not sure who it is for certain, number one. And what I did, I directed the full resources of the government.
By the way, this is the responsible thing to do. Instead of him just trying to remember, him just taking out his notes quickly, looking at them like, let me just tell you what information we have right now. Okay, so? Like, that's what I would expect anyone to do. Like, if somebody asked me, Dylan, can you tell me about this complicated cyber hack that affected over 200 companies? Like, yeah, do I think? Yes, I can tell you all the companies affected. It affected Exxon. It affected, I don't know, like Fritos. It affected da-da-da. Like, I'm not going to have all that information offhand. I don't expect anybody to have all that information offhand. So I'm quickly being like, ask the question, be like, oh, I have something on this. So let me tell you what they sent me so far on information about this. And then just reading off my notes. There's nothing wrong about that. Why is that wrong? The thing is, I don't want a president like Trump that just will randomly say stuff that's completely disproven later. Maybe if we had a president that stuck to the note cards a little bit more, then we wouldn't hear stuff like, oh, COVID will be over with the summer. Oh, let me just say another bullshit lie that has no truth to it whatsoever. Oh, let me just shoot from the hip right here. Why would we be angry at all about a president looking at his notes to tell us information?
To assist in a response.
Joey, I have been covering President Biden really since the campaign. I've covered him for years, since he was a senator. But in recent years, he suffers from this perseveration, which is a repetition of phrases. He wrings his hands in a certain way when he...
That was really deceptively edited. They cut every single part of him talking together in a way to make him look worse as possible. And even look that bad. They're really reading into this too much. Like, I mess with my hands a decent amount too. The thing is, they don't got anything on Biden. They don't got any evidence that he has dementia. They don't got any evidence that he's suffering from drastic mental decline. They've got no evidence that he's suffering from any of this. All they have is that he stutters his words sometimes, and he refers to note cards. Now, if you're going to go after him for referring to note cards, you're going to have to go after basically every president in American history. The fact that he was just open about it doesn't really say anything besides he was more open about the fact he was directly looking at his note cards. And I don't really see anything wrong with that. You can't try to take him just looking at a piece of paper and try to extrapolate that into some wider commentary about his mental health.
He speaks at times. He goes for the notes.
He goes for the notes. Who cares?
Given this condition, the hesitation, the confusion, how do you think that threat is viewed by Putin?
What do you mean? He literally told us why he didn't have a straight answer. He was like, well, we don't know for sure who did it yet. He was probably thinking because he didn't want to, because he probably was given hints about who did it, but he was like, well, I don't want to say the hints because we don't know for sure. Don't want to lead anybody anyway. So we don't know who did it yet. Then he goes for his notepad. What do you mean? And when he says this, listen to this quick.
The confusion. How do you think that threat is viewed by Putin?
Do you think that Putin is going to have some report? Come on. Do you think this is what he thinks is going to happen? 1 second. Hello, Mr. Putin. We have a vital report, Mr. Putin. Yes, a vital report. Yes, what is it? We have heard that the American president looked at notes when talking about a cyber attack. Truly, the American homeland has never been weaker. Now that presidents are looking at note cards, we truly see the mental weakness of the presidency, and we must start the invasion of California immediately. What does he think is going to happen? Because he referred to notes. You don't think Putin has ever referred to notes? You don't think the Japanese prime minister referred to notes? The Japanese prime minister was actually going through like a ton of like health decline and stuff like that. But even before that, the Japanese prime minister had referred to notes. A lot of people have referred to notes while they're in office. You're the leader of a country of over 360 million people. You're gonna need a few note cards to remember all the information when speaking to reporters and others.
That he's going to respond, and is this its own national security issue?
Is this its own national? Look at this delusion. I heard about Trump derangement syndrome, but what about that? What about this BDS? This is Biden derangement syndrome. The idea that a president looking at a notepad is a national security issue. What does he think? Al-Qaeda is going to dig up into the tunnels, go to the other Al-Qaeda members like, guys, quick, America's at its weakest point. Biden had to look at a notepad. And they start digging out of the tunnels, charging into the American wasteland like, we're going to drop into fucking Oklahoma and tear apart the countryside. Look at this extrapolation from such small, tiny things. This is no different than the Obama brown suit nonsense. When everybody got super angry that Obama had on a brown suit. This is basically the same thing. It's getting angry about literally next to nothing.
First of all, thanks for explaining that word. We didn't learn that one down here in Georgia. And I missed it when I was in Georgetown too. So, but listen,
wow, that guy. Wow, did you see how long he's delaying that conversation? He's delaying it. That shows deep mental decline. This person must have dementia. This guy right here, he's like joking around, but he's delaying for time. He's stalling because he doesn't have his answer yet. He must have late-term dementia. He's got like 2 days to live. That's how you sound when you talk about Joe Biden. That's how you sound when you say this nonsense about Joe Biden and dementia and how looking at this notepad is a national security issue. This is becoming nonsensical.
I'm going to stop shy of saying I think that he has cognitive deterioration or whatever people, the buzzword is this week. I don't know. I'm not his doctor and I'm not anybody's doctor. But this is what I'll tell you. I want my leader to be strong. I can't tell you what Putin's going to say, but I can tell you everyone that's about to fight a war underneath him because we're only ever one act away from having to defend ourselves. This is not helpful. It's hard to.
What do you mean it's not helpful? What do you think him looking at a notepad did?
It's hard to believe someone's in charge and leading with strength when they show this type of weakness.
What do you mean weak? He looked at a notepad.
This is not a hit against. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm actually trying to be very gracious here. Yeah. I'm not saying he's weak. This looks weak.
Maybe to Republicans, reading looks weak because they don't do it that often. Maybe that's the implication, which that's something you got to sort out yourselves.
It looks like he doesn't know what his decision is without a note card. How do you interpret that?
What do you mean his decision? Wait. He wasn't asking about a decision. They weren't asking him about a decision. He was trying to list off information about a cyber attack, which is very different than asking somebody's opinion. If you asked me my favorite ice cream flavor and I had to look at a notepad, that'd be very different. Also, I don't think Joe Biden would have that issue. The man very much loves his ice cream. But if you were to ask me about how many flavors are in the state of North Carolina, then you know what? That's some very specific information. I might need to cite the Notepad. He was trying to talk about who did the cyber attack, the effects on the 200 companies, and that's different than asking an opinion, so he needed a Notepad. Why do I even need to respond? This is lunacy.
You interpret that like he hasn't made a decision. Someone has told him what it should be, and he's believing them. That's not good. That's weakness.
Aisha, clearly there are national security implications here.
No, there aren't. There's no implications here. Is it really that much of a slow news day that you're going to try to make this have national security implications? Clearly there's national. It's not even a question for him. It's clearly national security indication. Oh my God. I heard today that Joe Biden farted. This is going to have a massive impact on the oil and gas economy. Like, this is, oh my God.
None of us can diagnose the president's cognitive condition.
Then stop trying to do it.
But
there's the but. None of us are experts on this issue and probably shouldn't be talking about it, but
none of us can diagnose the president's cognitive condition.
That's where it should stop.
But
that's where it didn't.
Look, Joe Biden suffered 2 brain aneurysms in 1988. He's clearly having increasing difficulties.
But then why didn't you speak about this in 1988? Why was there no talk about this in 2008 when he was vice president? Why was there no talk about this in 2012 when there was another election? And there was no talk about this in 2016 when the idea of him running in 2016 was a massive thing. It's just now.
Why do you think the media is so uncurious about this?
Uncurious.
I think the media is curious about why maybe perhaps the Biden administration, particularly the president, doesn't want to answer certain questions. I think earlier this week there was a moment where there were questions being asked about what's happening in Afghanistan, the troop withdrawal, and then President Biden said that he was concerned that those questions were being asked because he wanted to answer them at a later date. And I find that concerning that...
What does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with his mental health. That has nothing to do with the notepad that's going to mean California gets invaded by Russian soldiers.
We need to schedule our questions around when he's ready to answer them. I think that, you know, there's often a...
Wait. Sometimes you don't have all the information and you can only answer it at a different date. Like if somebody asked me what my bill for this month is going to be for electricity, I might be like, well, ask me in 10 days and I'll give you a full response when we have all the information. Why is that so? Why would that put me in the loony bin? An elusive viper. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. I really appreciated that. That obviously these 5 gifted tier 1 subs have huge national security implications.
Saying among reporters, and if you continue to ignore us, we're going to only dig harder and deeper. And I don't know why politicians haven't figured that out yet. There's only so long that you can ignore us. But I think that reporters kind of got used to the nonstop availability of the former president, President Trump, who literally took questions every which way, everywhere. And I think that people knew that this administration was going to be different, but I think it's hitting now, right? It's now.
This is the line. This is the line. By the way, where was the questions about competence when it comes to the mental health of people when Donald Trump called the president of Northern Kurdistan Mr. Kurd in Iraq? Where was the presidential mental health checks when Donald Trump mixed up Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania with the Yugoslav region and was talking to them about the civil war they had and how sad it was? What about Tim Apple? That famous quote. Nuking hurricanes. Any of these comments. When was the mental health checks ready then? Were you guys ready to jump then? No? Then where's this magic interest? Because a guy looked at a notepad. Are you going to honestly tell me that you have more interest in somebody's mental health after they check notes on a notepad next to if they call the president of the KRG region Mr. Kurd. Could you imagine going to Germany and calling Angela Merkel Miss German? And how silly you would look? My God.
We're a couple months into it, and reporters are really starting to feel it now that, okay, this is a very different administration.
Yeah, well, he's clearly having difficulties with syntax, putting thoughts together, even reading cards in the teleprompter.
What do you mean he's having problems with reading cards? You just told me he went to his cards. Now you're going to say there's a problem with the cards? And he didn't do that properly too? Oh my God, man.
Lisa, I want to play this for you. This is Biden at an ice cream stop yesterday in Michigan. Watch.
We're in the cherry capital of the world.
I know
Cherry's
that, but I'm a
global
chocolate
lead.
chip guy.
True, chocolate chip.
I want a
Chocolate
double
chip.
dip waffle cone with vanilla chocolate chip.
Vanilla chocolate chip, we can do that.
I got 2 scoops.
You got 2 scoops and a waffle cone of the plain chocolate chip.
Oh God, the man likes his ice cream.
Okay.
14.58 on 20.
Are you buying this?
I am. Last of the big spenders. Oh my gosh.
Lisa, this is about the 3rd time they have covered the ice cream gate as if it's a new SALT treaty. I mean, the way the media covers this thing, why the fixation on...
Look at these images. Look how hard they're trying to make him look evil. Like, look at that aggressive look they were able to capture on his face as he, like, bites into an ice cream. You're gonna go after the media for covering his ice cream trips. And you're gonna say, oh, look how stupid this is. Why aren't they covering the real news? When you're trying to cover the fact that he just looked at his notepad saying it has national security implications. Where did you go and study international relations? I would love to hear where this man studied international relations. I'd really love to hear it.
whether he's eating chocolate or vanilla.
Well, it's smart by his handlers because
if the president goes anywhere, there's going to be cameras there. He could literally go to a local restroom in Oklahoma and there'd be a camera there waiting for him because he's the president of the United States. He's the most powerful man on the entire planet. Of course, they're going to cover his ice cream stops.
There's all this disaster going on, and it's like, look at the shiny object, look at the ice cream.
This disaster? What? He looked at a notepad. What disaster? He just looked at a notepad. He looked at a piece of paper. And you're talking about how angry you are about the, oh my God, I can't. I am so sick of them covering dumb, redundant news like him eating ice cream. Now let me talk about the time that Joe Biden looked at a piece of paper to list off some facts and figures.
But he likes ice cream, guys. Don't report about that. He likes ice cream. So it's a smart play by them. I love Aisha. I love Joey.
It's a smart, does he think this is something like 50D chess? He just likes ice cream and wants to go eat ice cream and talk issues a little bit while eating ice cream. If I was president and I could choose where these press conferences happened, I'd probably pick ice cream parlors and steak shops. I would 100% just go to every steakhouse in the country if I could. If I could tour the country from steakhouse to steakhouse while talking issues as the president, I'd do it. Are you kidding me? He's the president. Let him eat his ice cream.
We're always so smart and succinct, but I think they're being too nice. The media, of course, is giving Joe Biden a pass because they're a bunch of partisan hacks who...
A pass on what? The holy notepad.
Play for the liberal team, and Joe Biden is clearly in cognitive decline.
What do you mean? Your partner just said like 1 or 2 minutes ago that none of you are medical professionals and that none of you can comment if he has dementia or if he's in decline. And then 1 minute later, actually, let's reverse that. He is in decline. Why? He had to read from a notepad.
We have eyes and ears. We can see it all for ourselves.
You know, there was multiple times that Donald Trump looked at a notepad. There was multiple times when Donald Trump read from cue cards. There was multiple times that Donald Trump read from a teleprompter, and none of these complaints came up then.
And it absolutely has national security.
In fact, people praised him when he did that because the Republicans were happy they wouldn't have to clean up after his mess, because when he goes off script, he says some wild and crazy stuff.
Because even though the media doesn't...
Oh yeah, Donald Trump had to drink out of a water bottle with 2 hands. I forgot about that. Can anybody send me that clip?
want to cover this sort of thing. Of course, her adversaries.
Up. She stuttered. She obviously is in deep mental decline. She just stuttered. That is deep and deadly mental decline. She needs to be put in a home immediately. We got her.
Even though the media doesn't want to cover this sort of thing, of course, her adversaries are seeing this. And part of preventing wars is through deterrence and the projection of strength. That's not happening with Joe Biden. And it's not just with the ice cream and the incoherence. It's also through action. I mean, if you remember back in April, Russia, they had a huge boost in their military operation along the Ukrainian border. And what did Joe Biden do? He deployed 2 warships and then canceled that deployment of those.
Wait, what do these people think they got something there? They hyped up relations on the Ukrainian border. Donald Trump said Joe Biden said we're making a stand. He deploys warships. He gets ready. Then you know what Putin does? He reverses. The troops start to withdraw. The troops withdraw. Then Biden backs down. Biden stood tall in that instance. You can't use that as a wreck against him. He stood tall, stood up to Putin, and Putin backed down. Where, if what you're saying is true, why didn't the Russian military just invade Ukraine for a full-scale invasion? Your storyline doesn't make sense. If what you're saying is true, then why didn't the Ukrainian countryside fall to a Russian army? Because it didn't happen. They reversed course. They withdrew their deployments. You're not including the full picture. And look at this smug guy next to him, thinking really that they got him there. Is this the most they can get on Joe Biden? We're right back to the tan suits with the Obama presidency. We've returned to the tan suits.
2 warships. He also nuked the sanctions, or the sanctions.
Wow, man. She keeps fumbling over her words. I don't know if we should listen to her anymore. I mean, she's obviously in deep mental decline because she fumbled her words twice this video. This is terrible.
Warships. He also nuked the sanctions, or the sanctions.
What?
Waive the sanctions on.
Oh wait, what? Huh?
Nord Stream 2.
See how dumb it is to just pick every single time someone fumbles on their words and use that as proof that they have dementia or in deep mental decline. Then you're gonna need a little bit of a deeper medical analysis to actually figure that out. God, man, I can't stand these people.
Series of things that he has done, both in his rhetoric appearing weak, but also.
The thing is, now I know that everybody out there should get vaccinated, and you guys, everybody at home, get vaccinated. Now, I do think that there might be a small case for these 4 individuals, and only these 4 individuals, not getting vaccinated. And the reason why is I hear a lot of stuff about blood clots recently. And these 4 people are so thick that of course their blood is going to clot. If you're that thick, that's inevitable.
So in action as well.
Yeah, well, Baskin-Robbins has 31 flavors. Biden has 1, and I'm afraid increasingly it's bananas. Anyway, hey, Sean.
Wow, that guy waited all day to use that one.
Hannity.
He waited all day to use that one. And you want to know what? I bet he wrote it down on a note card. That's enough of that. Did you see Neil deGrasse Tyson embarrass Ben Shapiro on trans issues? No, but I would love to see it. Also, banana flavored ice cream? I've never heard of such a thing.